Welcome to our deep dive on passport validity versus visa issuance, especially for visitor visas like the B2. Today we'll unpack why an almost expiring passport can jeopardize a long-term visa, how the 6-month rule affects your actual travel, and what strategies can minimize risk. We'll move step by step, clarify the unconventional carry both passports tactic, and end with a practical checklist. Let's begin. Here's the roadmap for today's video. First, we'll define the core conflict between passport expiration and long-duration visas. Next, we'll analyze interview risks, followed by the 6-month rule, and why it matters more than the visa sticker. Then, we'll discuss the unconventional strategy of renewing after approval and why it's risky. After that, we'll give you a best practice approach and a quick checklist. We'll include a couple of quizzes to test your understanding, and finally summarize the key takeaways. Before we proceed, a quick disclaimer. This content is educational and not legal advice. Consular practices vary by country and individual profile, and rules may change. Always verify with official government sources, or consult a qualified immigration attorney for guidance specific to your situation. Now, with that clarified, let's explore the core conflict. The central conflict is timing. Many applicants schedule a visa interview while their passport is set to expire soon. If your planned travel happens after that expiration, you're asking a consular officer to place a long-duration visa into a document that is or will be invalid for travel. This discrepancy invites scrutiny and can limit visa validity or lead to denial. Let's transition into how officers evaluate this at the interview. During the interview, officers look holistically at your travel timeline and documents. If your itinerary clearly shows travel after your passport's expiration, the officer may hesitate to issue a long-duration visa. In many cases, they may severely limit the visa validity to align with the passport's remaining life. That outcome diminishes the usefulness of your application. Conversely, if your travel predates the passport expiration and you meet other requirements, the officer may proceed with a standard evaluation and possibly issue a longer visa. Next, let's examine the crucial 6-month rule. This is the pivotal point. Even if a visa is valid, your passport might block you from boarding or entering the country due to the 6-month rule. Most countries require the passport to remain valid at least 6 months beyond your intended entry or departure date. Airlines often check this before boarding, and border officials verify it on arrival. If your passport expires too soon, you risk denial at the gate or rejection at the port of entry. Therefore, visa validity alone does not guarantee travel. Now let's consider the unconventional post-approval renewal strategy and its pitfalls. This flowchart visualizes the decision logic. First, determine whether your intended travel occurs after your passport expires. If it does, and you lack 6 months of validity beyond entry, renewing before the interview becomes the recommended path. If pre-interview renewal is impossible due to time constraints, you may proceed but must be prepared with documentation proving imminent renewal, accepting higher risk. Alternatively, consider rescheduling if permissible. Each route carries different risk levels, with pre-interview renewal generally the safest. Comparing strategies. Renewing before the interview aligns you with the 6-month rule, increases the likelihood of a longer visa validity, and simplifies logistics by traveling with a single, fully valid passport. Conversely, renewing after approval, while legally permissible, introduces complexity. You may need to carry both passports or transfer the visa where allowed. Officers may also limit visa validity if they sense timing conflicts. Finally, airlines and border agencies could still deny travel if the 6-month requirement is unmet. Pre-interview renewal is generally superior. If you must attend the interview with a short-dated passport, be prepared. First, practice a clear and honest explanation. Second, bring evidence of imminent renewal, such as an appointment confirmation, receipts, or a proof of expedited processing. Third, adjust your travel dates to happen only after receiving the new passport. Fourth, bring a compact timeline that shows how the interview, renewal, and travel align. Verify whether carrying both old and new passports is acceptable for your destination. Finally, ensure your DS-160, itinerary, and verbal statements are consistent. Quiz time. Question. Your passport expires 4 months after your intended entry, and your visitor visa is valid for 10 years. What is the most likely outcome at boarding or entry? Options. A. You can travel because the visa is valid. B. B. Airline or border officials may deny boarding or entry due to the 6-month rule. C. The officer will extend your passport validity at the airport. D. You can override the rule by showing return tickets. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. The 6-month rule typically requires your passport to be valid for at least 6 months beyond your intended entry or departure. Even with a 10-year visa, a passport expiring 4 months after entry can trigger denial at boarding or rejection at the border. Visas do not supersede passport validity requirements enforced by airlines and immigration authorities. This table maps common scenarios to likely outcomes. If your passport expires before intended travel, expect high scrutiny and potentially shortened visa validity, with very high travel risk. If it expires less than 6 months after entry, approval may still occur, but the travel risk is high due to airline and border checks. Renewing before the interview generally leads to more favorable treatment and lower risk. Renewing after approval is legally possible, but introduces uncertainty and often limited visa validity. Rescheduling to renew first is typically safer. Here is a concise, Markdown-style checklist you can screenshot or print. Make sure your passport has at least 6 to 9 months of validity beyond entry. If your travel occurs after passport expiration, renew first. Gather proof of renewal such as appointments and receipts. Align your itinerary to occur after you receive the new passport. If you must renew after issuance, verify whether carrying both passports is acceptable. Finally, ensure your application details, travel plans, and interview statements are consistent. This timeline shows the ideal order. Today's date, then the visa interview, followed by starting the renewal, issuance of the new passport, and finally, the intended travel window. The last marker represents the required validity end, 6 months after entry. The key message is to travel only after you have the new passport in hand and still meet the 6-month requirement. Second quiz. Question. You obtained a visa in an almost expired passport, then renewed, and now have a new passport. For most destinations, what is the safest way to travel? Options. A. Travel with only the new passport. B. Travel with both passports, the old one with the visa and the new one with validity, if the destination accepts this. C. Transfer the visa sticker yourself to the new passport. D. Travel with the old passport only because it has the visa. You may pause the video now to think. We'll discuss the answer next. The correct answer is B. Many countries allow you to carry both passports, the old passport containing the valid visa and the new passport providing current identity and validity. However, policies vary, so verify this approach with official sources before traveling. Do not attempt to transfer a visa sticker yourself, and avoid traveling with only the old passport if it no longer meets validity rules. To summarize the essentials, visa validity does not supersede passport validity requirements. The 6-month rule can prevent boarding or entry even if your visa is long-term. Renewing before the interview typically yields the best outcomes. If you must proceed with a short-dated passport, present strong evidence of imminent renewal and adjust your travel accordingly. Finally, aim to maintain 6 to 9 months of validity beyond your entry date. As we wrap up, remember that successful travel requires alignment between passport validity, visa details, and your itinerary. Renewing before the interview reduces risk at the interview, with airlines, and at the border. If you are uncertain, reschedule to renew first. It is often less costly than dealing with denied boarding or entry. Thank you for staying through the end. One final note before we close. Thanks for watching. If you found this valuable, please like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more practical travel and visa guidance. Drop your experiences or questions in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories and help with future topics.